As the Third Reich prepared for its invasion of Western Europe, German military planners faced a seemingly insurmountable problem. The artillery-laden Fort Ében-Émael, reputed to be the largest in the world, was a daunting sentinel guarding the strategic bridges that led the way from Belgium into the Netherlands. Protected by steep walls, anti-tank barriers, and minefields, it was virtually impregnable to ground assault. Meanwhile, Belgian anti-aircraft defenses used sound location arrays that could easily detect the rumble of incoming aircraft engines, shooting them out of the skies before they could get anywhere near the fortress. The generals were stumped, but Hitler himself had an idea that would turn the situation on its head. The DFS-230 may have looked like little more than a wooden box with wings, but as a glider, it had one major advantage. It could silently deposit Wehrmacht troops right on top of Fort Ében-Émael before the Belgians knew what had hit them. Development. The origins of the DFS-230 lay in a cunning move by the Germans to circumvent the restrictions placed upon them after their defeat in World War I. The Treaty of Versailles prevented them from developing powered military aircraft, but it didn't say anything about gliders. Within years, gliding clubs sprang up across Germany, training thousands of young pilots who would later form the core of Hitler's Luftwaffe. By 1933, these scattered clubs were centralized under the German Research Institute for Sailplane Flight, or DFS by its German initials, with Hans Jacobs as head designer. While officially focused on civilian aviation, DFS was already exploring military applications. Their research into high-altitude meteorological gliders caught the attention of Ernst Udet, a World War II ace, now serving as a senior Luftwaffe officer. After watching test flights at Gressheim, Udet remarked to his old wartime comrade, Robert Ritter von Greim, that large gliders could serve as modern-day Trojan horses, silently depositing troops behind enemy lines. Within weeks, DFS received orders to design a glider capable of carrying a pilot and 9 fully equipped troops. The result was the DFS-230, which began flight testing in late 1937. Design. The DFS-230 was deceptively sophisticated, despite its simple appearance. Its high-wing monoplane configuration used a single main spar positioned at 1/3 chord length, with plywood covering the forward section and fabric covering the rest. The wings were braced to the fuselage by light struts at quarter span, providing excellent structural strength while keeping weight low. The welded steel tube fuselage was rectangular in sections, built around a central keel member designed to absorb landing impacts through a sprung steel skid. For takeoff, the glider used a 2-wheel dolly that could be jettisoned once airborne. Using wing spoilers, it could make steep approaches and perform fairly accurate landings, with the sprung steel skid absorbing the impact. Inside the Spartan cabin, troops sat in a single row on the central boom, 6 facing forward, 4 backward. A large loading door on the port side allowed for rapid exit, while a detachable panel beneath the starboard wing facilitated the loading of bulky cargo. The glider could carry up to 1.3 tons of troops and equipment, while maintaining a remarkable glide ratio of 18:1 when empty or 11:1 fully loaded. Communication between glider and tow plane was maintained through an innovative cable system running along the tow rope, allowing for coordinated action even in poor visibility. The DFS-230 could be towed by various aircraft, from the sturdy Junkers Ju-52 transport to the nimble Messerschmitt Bf-109 fighter. This flexibility would prove invaluable in combat, allowing mission planners to match glider operations to available resources. The DFS-230 would undergo several refinements throughout its service life. The initial A1 production version was soon joined by the dual-control A2 trainer variant. The B1 introduced a braking parachute that would allow for even steeper diving approaches of up to 80 degrees, and landings within 65 feet of a chosen spot. This unprecedented accuracy and short landing capability would transform the glider from a simple transport into a precision weapon. The B1 also added the ability to carry defensive armament in the form of an MG-34 machine gun, while the C1 added nose-braking rockets for even more precise landings. Though a D1 version with improved rockets and an enlarged F1 variant capable of carrying 15 soldiers were developed as prototypes, these never entered production. 2 more experimental versions were also attempted, the DFS-203, which joined two DFS-230 fuselages with an enlarged center section, and the Fokker-Achilles FA-225, which replaced the wings with a helicopter rotor, though neither proved successful. Into service, Ében-Émael. During World War II, the DFS-230 would see its chance to prove its mettle in combat missions, thanks to Hitler himself. In late 1939, as German High Command prepared to use their famous blitzkrieg tactics to take Western Europe by storm, they identified a key target, Fort Ében-Émael, on the border of Belgium and the Netherlands. A behemoth of reinforced concrete and steel, the stronghold was bristling with artillery that could strike targets up to 10 miles away, its massive guns defending 3 vital bridges that German forces would need to cross during their planned invasion of the Low Countries. Protected by a moat, minefields, and anti-tank barriers, the fortress seemed impregnable to conventional attack, but its architects had never considered an assault from above. Therefore, a plan was hatched to storm Fort Ében-Émael and the surrounding bridges using airborne units. When it came to the selection of aircraft for the mission, the Führer personally got involved. With Belgian anti-aircraft defenses thought to be equipped with sound location arrays rather than radar, he proposed the use of the DFS-230, having been told by his personal pilot, Third Reich, that gliders were virtually silent in flight. He believed this unique characteristic would give the Germans the crucial element of surprise. As an intense training period began, the invasion was set for May 10, 1940. At 4:30 a.m., 42 DFS-230 gliders were towed into the air by Ju-52s from airfields near Cologne before turning south towards their objectives. Maintaining strict radio silence, pilots relied on a chain of signal fires to navigate toward Belgium. Though 2 gliders, including the one carrying Assault Force Commander Oberlieutenant Rudolf Witzig, were forced to land in Germany when their tow ropes snapped, the rest of the armada cast off from their tow planes 20 miles from their targets at an altitude of 7,000 feet. As the Ju-52 transports turned away, Belgian anti-aircraft batteries detected them and opened fire, but it was too late. The silent DFS-230s were already gliding through the darkness toward their objectives. 9 gliders carrying just 78 men approached Fort Ében-Émael itself. At precisely 5:20 a.m., they touched down on the fortress roof, the barbed wire wrapped around their landing skids, bringing them to rapid halts. Within minutes, German troops were placing explosive charges on gun cupolas and other vital positions. The defenders, completely surprised by this unprecedented form of attack, could offer little resistance. The fort's mighty guns, designed to strike targets miles away, were useless against an enemy that had literally landed on top of them. Meanwhile, other DFS-230s were landing by the 3 critical bridges. At Feldveselt, all 9 gliders landed successfully, their troops quickly overwhelming the Belgian defenders and preventing them from destroying the bridge. At Bronhoven, 10 out of 11 gliders made it to their target, rapidly securing the bridge despite fierce Belgian counterattacks. Only at Cannes did the operation fail. The defenders there had been forewarned by the early arrival of German ground forces, giving them time to destroy the bridge before the gliders could land. Back at Ében-Émael, the assault force had destroyed or disabled most of the fort's artillery within 20 minutes of landing. The garrison of 800 men, trapped inside the fortress with their main weapons neutralized, surrendered the following day. Hitler's faith in the DFS-230 had been vindicated. The Battle of Crete. A year later, the silent glider would have another opportunity to demonstrate its effectiveness. Codenamed Operation Mercury, the German invasion of Crete would be the largest airborne operation ever attempted, with over 70 DFS-230s joining hundreds of Ju-52 transport aircraft in the assault. The operation's success hinged on capturing several key airfields, particularly at Malmö, which would be needed to fly in reinforcements. The Luftwaffe had already established air superiority, forcing the RAF to withdraw to Egypt, but the Allied ground forces remained a considerable obstacle. The Germans planned to use a combination of paratroopers and glider-borne troops to secure their objectives. As they touched down on May 20th, the landing skids threw up thick clouds of dust, an unplanned advantage that actually saved many troops from being cut down by Allied gunfire as they disembarked. While some gliders were lost to anti-aircraft fire or crashed on landing, Most successfully delivered their troops, who played a crucial role in securing the vital airfields. However, while the DFS-230s managed to deliver their troops successfully, the broader operation proved costly. Allied forces, forewarned of the invasion through intelligence intercepts, inflicted heavy casualties on the German paratroopers. The losses were so severe that Hitler would never again authorize a large-scale airborne assault. Yet the DFS-230 would continue to serve throughout the Mediterranean theater. When Rommel's Africa Corps found itself in need of urgent resupply, the gliders proved invaluable in delivering crucial material to forward units in Libya. Rescue of Mussolini. In September 1943, after Italy had surrendered to the Allies, Benito Mussolini was being held captive at the Hotel Campo Imperatore, a remote lodge perched high in the Gran Sasso Mountains at an altitude of over 2,100 meters. The hotel was accessible only by cable car and was guarded by around 200 well-armed Carabinieri troops. Hitler was determined to save his beleaguered ally, but getting the former Italian leader back seemed almost impossible. His only hope lay in the DFS-230. On September 12th, 12 of the gliders, each carrying 9 troops and a pilot, were towed toward the Gran Sasso Massif. The mission, codenamed Operation Oak, faced a daunting challenge. The gliders would need to land on a tiny patch of level ground beside the hotel, surrounded by steep slopes, while dealing with treacherous mountain winds. Despite these hazards, the gliders achieved a perfect landing. Not a shot was fired as German troops stormed the hotel. The Italian guards, stunned by the audacity of the assault, quickly surrendered. Within minutes, Mussolini was free. He was then flown off the mountain in a small Fieseler Stork aircraft, marking the success of one of the war's most spectacular rescue missions. The Gran Sasso raid would be the DFS-230's last major operation, but the gliders would continue to prove their worth in an equally crucial role, keeping surrounded German forces supplied on the Eastern Front. As Hitler's armies faced mounting Soviet pressure, the DFS-230s repeatedly demonstrated their value in crisis situations. They delivered vital supplies to German forces encircled in the Demyansk and Kulm pockets, and even attempted to sustain the doomed Sixth Army at Stalingrad. Their final mission would be supporting the defenders of Budapest, continuing supply runs into the besieged Hungarian capital until February 1945. Though production ceased in 1943, with around 1,500 built, the remaining gliders served right until the war's end, a testament to the high regard in which the aircraft was held. Legacy. The DFS-230's influence outlived both the aircraft itself and the regime that created it. Its impressive glide ratio of 18-1 was unmatched by any World War II military glider except the Soviet Antonov A-7, while its success partially inspired Allied development of similar aircraft, most notably Britain's Hotspur glider. Today, just one complete DFS-230 survives, an A-1 variant preserved at the German Air Force Museum in Gottow near Berlin. It serves as a reminder of how a simple wooden aircraft helped pioneer the age of airborne assault.